Welcome to Drinks World, where we celebrate entrepreneurs in the beverage industry. Today's guest is Ernst Henning from Schoonspruit Distillers. The business was started by Jeve's father, Ernst Henning, in 1991. Initially, it only made spirits for the entry-level Totpak range, but today they manufacture some unique craft products. They make a grain whiskey from maize grown on the farm, and they also have a 10-hectare vineyard, which allows them to make wine and brandy from their own grapes. But by far the most exciting addition to their business is the distilling of agave spirits, which they distill from agave plants grown sustainably in the Graaff-Reinet area. Let's welcome Ernst to the show. My name is Holger Meyer, and this is Drinks World. Welcome to the show, and today I am in Ventersdorp, and I'm visiting one of South Africa's oldest and biggest craft distillers, and our guest today is Ernst Henning, and Ernst and his father operate this distillery here in Ventersdorp, and I think for the last nearly 30 years, isn't it?
That's correct, Holger.
Now, I wish we could talk to your dad, but tell us, how did the whole thing start?
Well, Holger, it's actually a quite interesting story. We started up in 1991.
Okay.
He started with the whole concept, and we solely focused on the Totpak range, as everybody knows it. It's basically those small sachets that you took to the rugby stadium and all those type of sporting events. And well, it got more than that at this stage. So we started up the distillery then and tried to produce some of our own alcohols, just did the trial run. And well, here we are now, 30 years later, and we're doing brandies, whiskies from grain. We're doing gins, we're doing rum from molasses, and one of the most unique things we're currently busy with now is the agave spirit. That's taking a quite big approach in South Africa at this stage, and hopefully, if all goes well and we're still here, we would like to achieve a bit more than what we're currently doing, and hope for the best.
Yeah. I see on your shelf there you've got the agave gold and the agave silver. I used to sell that, and I went to the distillery in Graaff-Reinet. I'm sure you didn't get a chance to visit them, but the plant that you use comes from Graaff-Reinet. That's
correct, Olga. So we get the plants from Graaff-Reinet, and they call it, as we know it, the Karoo agave.
Yeah.
And that's the liquid gold that you get to make agave spirits from. So we extract the juice from the plant. Firstly, it goes through a baking process where we convert all the starches to sugars, and it takes up to 3 to 4 days to do that process with a wooden fire. And we extract the starch, the syrup from the plant then, and it goes to the fermentation process, where the fermentation can take anything from up to 4 to 14 days, depending on all the external factors and whatsoever. And then we distill it through copper pot stills to get the unique flavor profile that we have here, and it's quite a unique product. It's really wonderful to see that there's such a huge demand for the product in South Africa. It was a bit of a hit and go to decide whether it's going to work or not, and it's there. Definitely it's there, and I wish there could be more guys to get involved in this whole agave production process and join us in this launch of the product and get the awareness there to educate the South African market a bit more about, let's call it in brackets, tequila. To get the awareness there and to get some assistance from everybody else and see if we can make it work, and let's see if we can beat the Mexicans, eh?
So can you quickly explain to us what the difference is between tequila and what you make?
Okay, so tequila is basically just towards Mexico. So you're not allowed to call anything tequila that you produce outside of Mexico.
Okay.
Basically the same with champagne.
Yeah.
So basically it's the same process, but you're not allowed calling it tequila in South Africa if you're not importing from them. So that's why, according to Department of Agriculture and all the laws and regulations here, we're not allowed to call it tequila and to sell it as tequila. That's why we make use of the wording 100% agave spirit, meaning that it's only made from 100% agave spirit and there's no extra additives added in the product for fermentation or whatsoever.
And typically people would blend it down with a sea spirit. I mean, obviously not in your case.
No.
And that's why you're trying to differentiate yourself.
That's correct. So you get a cheaper version as well. You can blend it down, and there's a lot of guys that maybe will do it in the near future with the trend picking up now. But you know what? We're proudly African, and we like to create product that's got a big value to it. We like to be focused more on the craft distilling side and put a quality product out there for the people. We're not interested in doing a cheaper version and entering the mass market. I mean, that's not in our plans here at Schoonspruit Distillery.
Okay. And besides the tequila, which is really, I mean, are there other people doing this tequila? Let me try again. Are there other people distilling agave in South Africa?
At this stage, no. I'm not aware of anybody currently doing them. I know Hope on Hopkins, they've got our agave brand running now. And I think they also make use of the same process as that we're using now. I'm not sure about their taste though, but I would like to maybe see if we can take some hands with them in the future. So if everything goes well, I would like to go and see if we can get this up and running.
Okay. And the heart of all these craft spirits, I guess, is the Western Cape, and you're very, very far away. So I guess you're a bit removed from the market, so you're focusing more on the production side.
That's correct. And unfortunately, we're based in Ventersdorp, so it's in the Northwest Province. It's really a distance away from all the central points where all the stuff takes place. So from Graaff-Reinet to Ventersdorp is around 700 km just to get the piñas here. And then it's the very time-consuming baking, fermenting process that's taking a lot of time and effort. And then, you know, when the lovely product is done, it needs to go to the market. And that's majority of that will be Cape Town, Joburg, and then export market that's growing. And I mean, transport is taking up a big toll of the costs. But I mean, the facility is here for 30 years, and I mean, we're not guys in the game for 30 years that's going to disappear next year. So I mean, I think it's to go and invest in another place to start up this facility is going to cost you a lot of money, and just the loyalty from our guys at Schoonspruit Distillery, I don't think you'll get that anywhere else at this stage.
Yeah, and it's really nice. I mean, out here it feels like you're living on a farm, and I guess it is. Is this part of a farm, or is it it's an industrial area?
That's correct.
But so it feels like you got the feeling of just a little bit different to the winelands.
Yeah, it's nice and quiet here. It's lovely. So, you know, we smaller guys over here, we don't seem to come right in the busy areas. So I think let's just stick here in Ventersdorp and see what we can achieve here.
Yeah. And one of your father's pet projects has always been making whiskey. How long has he been making whiskey?
Well, Olga, it's more or less the same time as what I told you now.
Okay.
It's basically started up in 1991. It was quite smaller than we went through now. But then we started, we come from a farming industry, so we have the access to the maize at this stage. And there's a lot of them available in the Northwest Province. So we tried to see if we can get a decent whiskey out of that, and it worked. I mean, the quality of whiskey that we distill here is one of the best in the world, if I can be upfront a bit. And the main thing is the aging process. That takes a while. And I mean, to distill something and let it sit for 3 years before you get any return of investment is quite a while. And I mean, it's a very nitty-gritty process to follow. And I mean, you must have the taste and the willingness to achieve anything, to wait 3 years to get any money back for it. So it's definitely in your blood to do this. It's not something that you can learn overnight. And luckily I learned a lot from him. I mean, he started up with that in, like I said, 1991. And well, we're in 2022 now, and we expanded quite a lot on the whiskey. It's very unfortunate the whiskey market in South Africa is a bit down at this stage. There's a lot of Scottish whiskey still available here, so the guys are quite used to the Scottish whiskey still at this stage. And hopefully the same with the Agave. I hope we can introduce the proudly South African way of whiskey and get that into the market a bit by assistance of the bigger guys like the Pick and Pays and the Topses and the Cash and Carries and all those guys to maybe assist the smaller craft industry breweries and distilleries and all that to get our products out there and see if we can maybe take hands and start up something. You know, it's a big game.
Yeah. So in a trend that I've seen in the whiskey industry is where they talk about grain to glass. Now, you said earlier to me that you've got your own farm, so you actually grow your own grain and you make your own whiskey. So there's not many distilleries in the world, I guess, that can offer grain to glass.
No, for sure. I mean, the best part about it is to do something different every day. So you can choose if you want to go farming today, do distilling, do tasting, or do bottling. That's the beautiful part about Schoonspruit Distillery. But our sole focus at this stage will be to do everything ourselves, to be self-efficient, and to do the farming on the maize, the same with the grapes, and the molasses, unfortunately, we just buy in at this stage from some other guys. And I mean, to do everything in Ventersdorp yourself, that's the biggest achievement of it all.
Yeah, and the spent grain or whatever you call it then goes to your feedlot.
Yes, so on the whiskey, basically what we do is we spin out the solids from the liquid before fermentation, and it's giving us a better character on the grain spirit that we distill now. So the excess, as we call it, the spent maize, brewer's grits, that some guys will call it as well. We had some excess of that now, and we didn't have anything to do with that. So we start selling that to local farmers around the area, let's say about 300 kilometer radius around Ventersdorp. And we did some analysis on the feed, and they feed it to the cattle, and the results was quite dramatic to see how many weight they picked up with that feed, because it's a high quality protein feed. And there's still a lot of sugars involved as well. And I said to my dad, you know what, let's do something different again. Let's start farming with cattle while distilling. So there's another thing during the week that we can decide what we want to do. So let's get the cattle in and start feeding them this. So now we prepare the cattle before they go to the other feeding lots, where they give them higher protein feeds and bulk them up for the field. So basically we run them in a cycle of 120 days, get the feed out after we've been making some whiskey.
Okay. I love that. Tell us a little bit about what one can expect. What's the difference between a grain, you called yours a grain whiskey?
That's it.
Versus a Scotch whiskey in terms of the character and the taste?
So on the grain whiskey, we solely make use of maize, and that's the main character of our whiskey. We don't use any wheat, any rye, any other grains are involved in our product. And the same with the Scotch whiskey as with the tequila. You can only call it a Scotch whiskey when it's from Scotland, when you import it from there. So we're not allowed calling our whiskies a Scotch whiskey here. And well, as far as I'm concerned, the whiskey, the spelling, the whiskey EY and whiskey with a Y, you know, all those stuff with the rules and regulations on that. So basically we just make use of single grain, that's going to be maize. And that's the whiskey that we produce here, because we've got the maize available for us.
And the other, may I say, the better known brands are also starting to use a process like Baines.
For sure, yes. If you go and have a look at the Baines, they make use of maize as well. I think they use yellow maize, where we just make use of the white maize. I mean, it's not a really big difference in the character of the maize. The main thing that you want to achieve with that is to convert the starches to sugar with the malting process, and that's what we can do. I mean, the sugar that we get out of the maize is good, and the fermentation is ideal. That's just what you want. You want to convert that starches to sugar, get the sugar to ethanol, and then we distill it through the copper pot stills, and that's what's unique about our facility as well. I mean, you had a look at the distillery now. It's something to see. I mean, there's nothing like that elsewhere in South Africa as far as I'm concerned, and we try to keep it neat and tidy and up to date and keep our finger on the ball the whole time. And I'm sure that copper pot stills has got the main ingredient on what's going on here, and I'm not sure which one of the two is the best one, but that's where the main character of our whiskey comes from, is that beautiful copper pot stills that we make use of.
Yeah. You said you also make brandy, and you mentioned that you've got about 40 hectares of grapes here.
Yeah, we've got about 10 hectares.
10 hectares.
Yeah, sorry, 10 hectares of grapes here. So basically what happened with the grapes, it was one of the ideas we had was to try something new again, and it's always nice to try something else. And we've got a partner in the business here, Jeffrey Nong. He's basically the farmer of the grapes, and he launched his own wine and his own brandy with his grapes over there. So what we did is we said to him, "You listen, Jeffrey, let's try something new. Instead of waiting 3 years for the product to get some money out for brandy, let's start up with a wine." And we had a friend of ours down in Cape Town who assisted us with the winemaking a bit here and there. And we launched some of his wines, and he went to all the indabas and exhibitions, and he sold quite a lot of his wine. And 3 years down the line, after the long waiting period for the aging to take place in the French oak barrels, we started bottling the first brandies from Schoonspruit Distillery with the vineyards that we did here. And we sold it as Nong brandy for him. And afterwards, it didn't go slow, but we started to make use of the brandy in our own products as well. So yeah, it's a really good product that we achieved, that we got hold of here.
And you took me through the cellar with all those vats or those barrels. What is the oldest product? Have you kept some for 30 years?
The oldest one over there now is around 2011.
Okay.
So that's a brandy, and hopefully we can let it rest for a few years to bottle it for a big amount some of these days.
I heard, I was listening to a podcast earlier, and they said there's somebody in Scotland who's still got some whiskey from 1930 in barrels. Yeah,
that's something unique. I mean, that guy, he's got a lot of patience. The best part about that, if you see that brandy sitting in the barrel since 2011, for me now, when I go into the cellar and every 3 months we draw a sample just to see if the aging goes well. It's not often that you can say aging goes well, but in this case it does. You must do everything that you can to not take that brandy out of that vat, because it's so nice. You just want to take it out and bottle it and tell your guys, listen, this is coming from Schoonspruit Distillery. That's why I say rather leave it a bit there, and I'm sure basically it's going to come down to something good.
Yeah, maybe it's not your dad's pension money, it's your pension money.
We'll try and work out something on that.
So you said to me, I mean, you're obviously quite far from the market, so you also do contract packing for other companies and other brands. How does one go about that process? And obviously you need to do some minimum quantities. What would you, explain to us the process.
Okay, so with the contract packaging, there's a lot of guys who started phoning us and sending us mails and inquired about products that they want for their own brands. And with this craft distilling that's taking place now, especially after the COVID, it's an industry that boomed in South Africa, if you can put it that way. So the guys started getting in touch with us and said, listen, you know what, I want a few liters of gin, for instance, or brandy or whiskey for my craft distillery. And if they've got all the licenses in place and the micro manufacturing or bonded facilities and all that, we started to supply the guys on a small amount to let them achieve something new in their craft distilling offset as well, to make them part of the trade. And some of the smaller guys don't always have access to bottling lines, access to bulk buy on bottles and caps and boxes, and we've got all that sorted out here already with the 30 years in trade. So we try to save the smaller guys a bit of money, if we can put it in brackets small, by getting bottles in at a cheaper price than they can, by getting the caps in, the boxes in at a cheaper price. And while we're at it, we said to them, let's just do the filling for you as well, and see if we can take hands in this venture of yours, and we want to be part of your dreams as well, and see you get the product from here. Let's do the blending, let's get it at your specific requirements, and if you're happy with the profile of the product and the labeling and all that, we get it approved. And we started bottling for the guys on a small scale. It's not major, but it's always nice to be part of something like that, and to see a smile on the craft industry guys' faces when you know a dream is coming true for their own brand to be launched. It's always nice to be part of that. It's not always about making money. It's nice to see there's guys with passion out there and to be involved in that.
So Jewe, it's been a tough 2 years. What are your plans for this year and the near future?
Well, Holger, I mean, I don't know. It's difficult to say with all this going on in South Africa at this stage. Each day is an opportunity for us. I mean, we're here, we're alive, and we're still kicking. So, yeah, it's difficult to say what the plans are, but for now, we just want to sustain what we have here and make sure we keep everybody happy that's on our list for this, and for sure grow with that every day, whether it's in yourself or in the business, and just keep positive in this difficult stages. I mean, hopefully the whole pandemic with the COVID is passing along now. It's really bad to see this whole facility starting to convert to make hand sanitizers. I mean, that's not what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're here to make quality alcohol products, not to make stuff to clean your hands with. And hopefully I don't go back to doing that again. That's not a good feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, from my side, I mean, it's a long drive, and I'm really grateful that you had some time for me. You've got electricity problems, you've got all sorts of problems, you've got a farm to run. So thank you very much for your time.
Well, thanks to you. I mean, it's really nice to have you here driving 600 k's just to come and see us for a quick interview. And you asked me a bit earlier, what's it that keeps us going in this business? It's guys like you that keeps us going and doing what we're doing, because it's always nice to see a smile on somebody's face and sharing your passion with you. And thank you very much for you to join us here at Schoonspruit Distillery. And hopefully next time when you come through, stay a bit longer, please.
Yeah. Where can people find out more about you? Have you got social media pages, website?
Yes, so they can find out on the webpage at www.totpak.co.za. That's basically the brand that we sell at this stage, and you can just go to the website. On the right hand side there's a link stating Schoonspruit Distillery. You can click on that, and if you have got an inquiry or something you want to know about us, just drop us an email there. The telephone number is 082-264-2626. That's the landline, so if there's anything else you can give us a call at the landline as well. And the email address is totpak@iafrica.com if you've got a direct email that you would like to send to the company. And let's see if we can assist you guys if there's any information that you need. On the standard Totpak range that we're doing now, that's the sachets, the 25 ml sachets. You can find us nationwide at all the retailers, and if we're not there, please give us a call and we'll make sure that we get there.
Yeah, and the Totpak business has been going for a long time, and that's really your bread and butter, and it pays for the very expensive generator that's running while you're developing these craft products. Thank you, Jewe. It's really wonderful to be here and to see the progress that you've made since my last visit. I love those big old distilling vats and those copper, what do you call them, copper pots?
The copper pot stills, yes.
Yeah, those copper pot stills I've never seen anything as big as that, and all those barrels. Well done, man.
No, for sure. Thanks, Olga. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to our stories here online. In the show notes, you will also find a link where you can subscribe to become part of our community and be notified when we upload our latest content.